And we are live. Hey, everyone. This is
I'm
Sage Bard
Sagey.
Podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm Bard. Welcome to the Sage Bard Podcast. We are doing a live. We're going to start covering some more current events. And one we want to look at today is the one about a California woman. So, Sagey, tell me, give us a few details. What did you see in this article?
So first off, everyone, right now we're coming to you in the middle of a tropical storm, and we'll get into that later on. But with this article that Bart is referring to, there is an unfortunate situation that happened on Friday. And on Friday, you had a resident of Cedar Glen near Arrowhead, California. She was killed, according to the news, for having a pride flag in front of her business, Magpie. She was a fashion executive at another point in time. Her name was Lauri Carleton. Unfortunately, she was killed in this interaction, and the police then subsequently tracked down the shooter or the killer and then killed him in a shootout. And this article is fascinating to me because this happened on Friday, and now on Sunday, we still have articles that are popping up, and there are a bunch of tributes that are popping up all over from the trans and LGBTQ plus community in regards to this tragedy. Bart, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, you know, what I'm doing right now is I want to get into the videos, the news report from KTLA, and I'm actually
over a pride flag. Deputies from the Twin Peaks Sheriff Station found the victim dead on Friday, and then after searching the...
Let's do this. It's actually playing in the background. So let's go ahead and do this. Let me go ahead and add this to the stream. This is KTLA. Let's go ahead and watch this just to give people a little bit more context. Okay, give me just a second here. Here we go.
And eventually shot and killed him. Laura Anna Carleton owned the murdered after a confrontation over a pride flag. Deputy.
We apologize. Looks like we're having some
technical difficulties.
Yeah, you know.
It could also be because of this tropical storm.
Possibly could be messing with things. But let's go ahead and try this again.
After a confrontation over a pride flag. Deputy.
Okay, let's go ahead and I'm not sure why it's not wanting to play, but what we can do is try it one more time. Yeah, what we'll do is we'll pull up the articles. We have a couple of articles. There's something interesting that you actually pointed out that caught my attention. And we want to know what you guys think, okay? Definitely leave your comments. Leave us some comments on this. We are live, but we're actually going live. You know, we didn't set this up. Usually we go live at 1:30, but I guess because of the storm today, and we didn't get to meet in person. So So we'll show you the articles, but let me try to play this one last time. If it doesn't work out, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and talk about the different articles and why we're bringing you this story.
For a confrontation over a pride flag. Deputies from the Twin Peaks Sheriff Station found the victim dead on Friday.
Okay, it looks like it's buffering and taking its sweet time. Buffering. Let me let it go ahead and buffer. It looks like it's loading. Let me let it get to the end. But basically, what we're doing is we pulled 4 different sources for this article, and we noticed something, and you guys may notice it as well. I think the video is getting ready to play here in a second.
And then after searching the area, the deputies confronted the suspect.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and pull the video. It looks like it's not wanting to play. Not sure why that is. Could be something to do with the hurricane or something to do with the internet signal. But let's go ahead and do this. We're going to pull up some clips at this time. We're going to show you these articles, but let's see here. So the first one, if you guys can see this is from NPR. Now, there's a reason why we're doing this. There's some inconsistencies, and we're a little bit worried that some of the news media may be using this to their advantage and pushing a certain narrative. And we'll show you what we mean by that. But let's take a look at this NPR article. It says California store owner was shot and killed over a pride flag displayed at her shop. Southern California business owner was shot and killed Friday by a man who objected to an LGBTQ plus pride flag displayed at her clothing store, officials said. Now, you notice it says by a man. Now, let me go back because I want to show you something. This is really important. Let me go back to this first slide. If you look at the top, right under the title, it says, if you look at the screen, it says August 20 at 6:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 3:24 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is the time we're on right now. And the article says a man, which is interesting because in the video we were trying to show you, that video by KTLA was actually put up yesterday, August 19. And in the video, it mentions that she was killed by her brother, not a man. So now, if in case you're thinking, oh, well, it just may be a case of poor reporting. And it definitely could be a case of poor reporting. But typically, reporters will, look at different sources and look at the news wire and then produce a report. Now, it definitely could be poor reporting. But if KTLA was running the story on August 19, which is yesterday, Saturday, today being Sunday, August 20, it makes sense that you would look at a news report from yesterday, run on TV and say, well, they're saying it's his brother, or it's her brother that killed her, not just by a man. Let me continue with the article. San Bernardino County Sheriff's deputies responded to the Magpie clothing store in Cedar Glen, California at around 5 p.m. local time for reports of a shooting. Okay, so other people heard the shooting. We're not sure how close they were. Now, when I saw video of the scene, it looks like there was at least one other business that was next to Magpie. Did you notice that?
Yes.
So there's at least one other business.
The thing is, the KTLA report was almost 24 hours later, and it says, almost every article that I went through says an unidentified individual or a man, and they failed to mention that. Number one, the guy they say that he was killed, but he was killed the day before, almost immediately after this murder of Lauri Carleton. And it was also her brother who was identified as the shooter. So then when the police arrive at the scene and they're saying she was already dead. So then how do we know what happened with the flag? And shouldn't that article say, if you're going to actually have a proper title, it should say, woman killed by her brother over a pride flag?
Exactly. That would have been better. But, let me continue reading this article, and then I want to answer that objection to the article. because I think there's something else going on here besides poor authorship or poor reporting. So I'm going to continue. It says deputies discovered the victim, 66-year-old Laura Ann Carleton, suffering from a gunshot wound. So if she's suffering from a gunshot wound, that means she's still alive. If you're suffering, it means you're alive, right? Mm-hmm. You can't suffer if you're dead, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Carleton was pronounced dead at the scene, so it's not giving us a time period between when she was suffering and when she was pronounced dead. So that's an information gap right there. Personally, we've talked about this article before. I think that this is a very poorly written article that was placed on NPR because it just doesn't give us a lot of details. Let's see. The suspect, who was not identified by officials, fled the scene on foot, which is false because on August 19, the police reported to KTLA that it was the brother, and KTLA ran the report that it was her brother that killed her. But what's interesting is that they're now saying, or NPR is saying, that the suspect who was not identified, which to me doesn't make any sense. Why would the police tell KTLA but not tell NPR, which is a nationally recognized, reputable, quote unquote, source of information, of reporting? Does that make sense to you?
It absolutely doesn't make sense to me. It basically, the other thing that should be noted is, how do we know it was over a flag? I mean, when it would be one thing if you had a random person who killed someone, but it's not a random person. It was her brother. So then,
right?
Who's the witness who saw this? Was it recorded? How do we know it was over a flag?
Right. And once again, this appears to be, let me put this mic a little bit closer. This appears to be a case of poor reporting, because in the article, it doesn't say that witnesses overheard, right? And there appears to be a business next door, because people overheard the gunshot, which means that they were close enough to know where it came from in order to send police to that location, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you can be close enough to know where it came from, but not have heard the argument or the dispute. Are you following me on that?
Yes.
So if that's the case, how did they know? Now, in the article, it doesn't mention that Lauri Carleton mentioned to the police while she was suffering. She may have been alive long enough to tell the police some details, but the article that NPR puts out doesn't mention that, number one, it was her brother. It doesn't mention, or if it does, it doesn't, the article doesn't mention that, but how did the police know who the suspect was and to confront him when they did confront him, right? We're going to get into that a little bit here in the article. So let me continue. It says, according to deputies, the man made several disparaging remarks about a rainbow flag that stood outside Carleton's store before ultimately shooting her. Okay, so where did this piece of information come from? Who actually reported this? Was this the neighbor, or was this the same person who called 911? These articles have zero information, and it these bits and pieces of information help us, the reader, the viewer, actually piece together the story to know what was actually going on. But it doesn't, once again, it doesn't tell us. So according to deputies, the man made several disparaging remarks. Okay, cool. So now, according to deputies, but where are they getting this information? Now, let me continue reading. It says deputies were later able to locate the armed suspect, who was confronted by deputies and was killed in a lethal force encounter, authorities said. No deputies were. How did they know who to go after? So I guess, they're leaving out details. And the interesting thing is, maybe some of the details are, in fact, in a 911 call, right? Maybe it hasn't been released yet, but KTLA doesn't mention anything about a 911 call. So there's just all sorts of missing pieces of information. So, we really don't know anything. All we know is that someone was killed.
May I share something from the Rolling Stones article?
Yeah. Let me get to that article real quick. Hold on.
Okay, so right there. What I want you to see, this is from a colleague of Lauri Carleton's, Paul Feig. He says, again, Lauri Carleton was killed after hanging pride flag. Right underneath it says, if people don't think, oh, sorry, go back up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had gone to another page. No. Let me go back.
If people don't think anti-gay and trans rhetoric isn't dangerous, think again. Feig writes, after his friend was shot and killed at her Lake Arrowhead store over the weekend. Now, Bart and I are not suggesting that it didn't have anything to do with the pride flag. But what we're saying is...
Hi to the person in the chat.
Correct. When you add in the fact that they're not disclosing or saying that it's her brother, perhaps it could have been another issue. It could have been a family issue that just, totally took the wrong turn. Maybe her brother had schizophrenia. Maybe he had some other issue, because usually you don't gun down your family member over something like this. There are people who do, but when you're able to use this and, I think, galvanize a community over this type of alleged hatred for a flag that many people really respond to and look to, it's a way of pulling together a community, and that's what I think the narrative is that's being communicated.
What's interesting is that we were talking about this offline. The brother, she was known in the community for this, so this isn't like day one, right? Some of the articles allude to the fact that, they mentioned the fact that she was known for actually, being a champion in the community for diversity and inclusion.
Correct.
And in these, keywords. But so the brother knew this. This isn't news. So why would you kill her now? What is she doing? What is she doing differently that she didn't do before? Is this the first time she's hanging the flag up? Which doesn't make any sense, because if you're a champion in the community, most champions would have a pride flag up, right?
Yes. And she was already in a pride parade, I think, this summer already. She was definitely a leader in that community for inclusivity. So
exactly
your point. Why now? I mean, and she's a 66-year-old, so her brother was probably in his 50s to 70s, somewhere in that area.
Right. Or maybe even, yeah, exactly. So here, let me read a little bit more of the article. And this is what's interesting. So we read a little bit of the NPR article. Now we're going to read, this is from Rolling Stone. Actress Director Paul Feig, actress Bridget Everett, and other friends and allies are remembering Lauri and Carleton, who was allegedly shot for hanging a pride flag outside of her store. So it makes it appear that this is her first time hanging it. Because if you're like most people who hang it, they just leave it up, right? Or maybe it was a recent hanging of the flag. Because if the flag had been up for years or even months, why is he killing her now? You know what I mean?
I agree with you. And the other thing that with all of these articles, and I've probably read 25 articles related to this and the reporting of it, all of them, except for one, make it seem like it was a random, unidentified individual who was responsible for this and subsequently shot by police or law enforcement. There is only one that report that it was her brother.
And what's interesting is that why would they obfuscate that detail? Why would they not release that or want to show that to the public? I mean, doesn't that make the story more salacious if that's what the news media is going for? Like, it's her brother. Is that more salacious? Or
no,
is somehow...
yeah.
No, go ahead.
It doesn't make it more salacious. Under normal circumstances, it would. But because of the specific community that we're talking about, I believe that it helps to leave the shooter unidentified, because then people in the LGBTQ plus community believe it's a random act of violence.
How does that benefit their narrative, though? Like, break that down.
Well,
I don't. Yeah, go ahead.
I think what happens when it's a random act of violence is that you're able to then have people like protest and do all kinds of stuff because it's, it was just random, and it's because someone just hates a member of our community.
I see.
As opposed to if it was, my sister or brother shot me because he just didn't like me, or he was already upset from Thanksgiving last year. I don't know.
So, okay, I kind of see what you're saying. Having a random out there. Well, the police shot him later on, but having a random, it makes it seem like it's just hate from the community. But because it's her brother, it's some more of like, it could be some infighting, it could be an ongoing situation, a family feud. So it doesn't have as much salacious detail for the media and for the lobby, the LGBTQ lobby. Gotcha. Okay. So now let's read some more details in the article. Middle of the article, it says a suspect who has not been identified, which is interesting, which models the NPR article, which also says he wasn't identified. But the funny thing is that the KTLA identified him. So here they are, late with the details, and apparently, pushing some sort of, that narrative that you're talking about, where we don't know who this person is. This person is just some random boogeyman, but we killed him. And I agree with you. It makes it seem as if it's more, it does seem more, it kind of makes them seem like more of a victims, like they're victims of random hate rather than, this is her brother, and it could have been over anything, really.
Well, think about it. You're African American. I'm of East Indian descent. It would be worrisome if you have cells of just random haters that are running around killing and shooting people that are just not part of one community. And that's what you're left with worrying about, unless you have a little bit more detail. And, regardless of what community
can you see me okay?
happened to, your video's coming in kind of poorly.
Okay, sorry about that. All right,
but I can hear you. But what I'm saying is, regardless of what member of any community this happens to, it's horrible. I mean, first off, if she was shot over hanging her own flag in front of her own business, that's up to her.
Right.
Freedom allows people to make decisions that you don't agree with.
Exactly. Let me get into go ahead. You have something else to say? Because I want to show the audience another article, and I want to show how this is, because I find this fascinating. I'm glad you actually brought this up. Let me so this Rolling Stones kind of dropped the ball as well. And then there's this article from a media publication who I have no idea who they are, Freshers Live. Now, you found this source. What'd you learn about this source?
I couldn't actually find like where it's published, or I don't know any information about it really, but they did have some decent detail compared to KTLA, NPR, Rolling Stones, a lot of other big name publications.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks, Brett. Brett says my video is missing, so let me work on that. Okay. Let's turn this off and turn this back on. There we go. Get this back on here. So one of the things I immediately noticed about the article from Freshers Live is that it's a lesser known publication, far lesser known publication, but yet it actually provides the most details.
Yeah.
Which is honestly incredible. And there I am. I'm here, but I'm not here, which is weird.
I think Bard is going for the Predator look where
that's my Predator look. Yeah. I'm trying out my Predator suit. Just don't mind me, guys. Like Fresher's Life. Let's look at some more of the details here. Let's go into this a little bit more. So the title of Fresher's Life, Lauri Carleton shot dead. What happened to Lauri Carleton? So first of all, they decided to actually honor her by letting you know who she is, why she matters, because NPR, they don't really get too deeply into it, which is a shame, like, what are you paid per word or per article? Like, I don't know. There's something going on with the way NPR and the Rolling Stones produced their article. I'm not sure why they would do that, but here it says Lauri Carleton was a well-respected figure within the community, known for her vibrant spirit and commitment to inclusivity.
Well, the other thing is even the title of that article, it's a lot less inflammatory or worrisome to everyone. It says who killed Lauri Carleton, as opposed to Lauri Carleton killed over hanging a gay pride flag or a pride flag in front of her own shop. I mean, that's really worrisome.
It is.
But
hey,
it's
do
a
this
lot
real
less
quick
worrisome again if you're talking about a relative.
Right. Try tilting your mic a little bit towards you. See what happens. I tilted mine a little bit.
Is that better?
It's kind of tilted slightly towards you, like it may be like an 80-degree angle.
I have it tilted towards me.
All right, cool. All right. So Lauri Carleton, let me go back to the article. Well-respected figure within the community, known for a vibrant spirit and commitment to inclusivity. So this is good. So we know who she is. We know that she's well respected. We know that she's had this commitment to inclusivity. And if the community knows this means she has a habit or her lifestyle is to represent the LGBTQ plus community in a certain way in which she's an ally. So, which goes back to the initial question, why now? Why is he killing her now? Which doesn't make any sense to me, because if anything, wouldn't you have killed her before? And wouldn't there be some details in the articles about her brother having an issue with this prior? We just get these scant details, so we really don't know why she was killed. Because no one overheard the conversation. No one reported on the fact that it may or may not have been. This was a conversation. It's just the police are reporting this, but how did they get that information? Let me continue. Tragically, Lauri Carleton's life was cut short when she was shot and killed in a shocking incident. The heart-wrenching event occurred outside her Magpie boutique in Cedar Glen, California. The suspect, later identified as her own brother, John Carleton, arrived at the store and allegedly removed a pride flag that was displayed as a decoration. How do we know he removed the pride flag? Who saw that? How do we know that? The article's not giving us any information. Do we have video? Was it picked up on store camera? I'm sure she had a camera in there. Most stores do have cameras, right? This act of prejudice and hate led to a confrontation between Lauri and the suspect, during which the suspect shot her multiple times. Her unwavering support for the LGBTQ plus community and her dedication to creating an inclusive environment in her shop made her a beloved figure among various communities. The tragic shooting marked a devastating loss for her family, friends, and the entire community. So, once again, no reference to video, no reference to people on the scene, who called it in. I mean, obviously the brother's dead, right? So there's no retribution going to be coming from the brother to people, but it doesn't mention who actually called it in. We don't have any evidence of the 911 tape. They don't refer. None of these articles talk about a 911 tape, and we know 911 was called. That's how the police came.
I think that ultimately what we can take from this article, though, is we all have different opinions. We all have different views, but we have enough things in our country today that are pulling us apart. We don't need
Right.
news agencies and writers to write so poorly and include so little detail that you scare significant portions of the country or people who have alternative lifestyles. It doesn't help anyone. All it does is aid and create a what is it an environment of fear, and that's what's tragic with this. What we can learn from Lauri Carleton is, because she did, while she was supportive of the LGBTQ plus community, she didn't identify with that community. She was, by all means, I mean, from everything we know, straight. She had a blended family. She had 9 kids who are now going to be missing their mom, and that's tragic. There's a lot of things that you can take from Lauri's life and say, hey, you know what? She stood for something. She stood for, caring for people, for supporting people, even if she didn't identify with that community.
Exactly. All right, so we're at the 31-minute mark. What do you think about us going ahead and wrapping up? I think we've let's have our. I think that was kind of a final word from you. Do you want to say anything else on that? Because I have a final word.
That's it for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think these articles don't do us any justice. It honestly just leaves more questions. Let me read this portion of this article. It says the perpetrator of this devastating act was none other than her brother, who reportedly acted out of opposition to the LGBTQ plus pride flag displayed prominently outside her shop. Now, once again, just kind of going back to what I was thinking, what I was saying before, I don't think this is the first time she's put this out. Maybe this was building, maybe this tension was building, but if she has been doing this for a while, why kill her now? And what's it his business if she has the flag outside?
Exactly.
What's it his business? It's her personal. You don't have to agree with the lifestyle. That's really her business. It's an obscure place. It's
at her business, and it's her flag.
Her business, her flag, her freedom of speech, most importantly, right? We have to remember this is also freedom of speech. And like you said, it's not mentioned in any of these articles that she herself was gay or lesbian or a part of this community. You can be married and be a part of this community as well. If you in fact identify as something else, or if you're bisexual or something like that. So
correct.
It doesn't give us any details. So we don't know who she is outside of, she's being executive for Kenneth Cole, which is amazing. So she's a very well respected and loved person in the community. But NPR, Rolling Stone, they really dropped the ball. Even KTLA didn't really give us much detail. They didn't really take the time to really dig into it. I think the best article so far was from this obscure source called, what are they called?
Freshers Live.
And who knows what that is. We tried to do some research on them. We couldn't find anything. So we're thinking they're probably just either a local news agency or a blog or something, a family blog. But anyway, thank you, Freshers Live, for doing a fair bit more reporting than some of our big agencies. And I do want to say, I personally, I don't consider myself an ally per se of the LGBTQ plus community, but I do believe in free moral agency. I do believe in freedom of speech, freedom of expression. If you want to hang your flag, hang your flag. But at the same time, I think killing people for their beliefs is insane. It's very un-American. And if you're a Christian, it's very un-Christian-like to murder people over their freedoms. That's not your call. So the brother's dead, but anyone else out there who has this sort of mindset where they're going to kill people for their beliefs, you're wrong. You shouldn't do it. It's wrong. It's evil.
Yeah.
And by me saying that, I'm in no way supporting. Once again, I'm not an ally in any way of the LGBTQ plus. I do not, attend their events, but I do support their freedom of speech, their freedom of expression, and any allies, their freedom of expression, and as a Christian myself, free moral agency. Everyone has a right to choose. You got any final comments?
Nope. I think that was good.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us here on this special report. This happened just a couple of days ago. When did she die?
Friday.
Okay, so today's the 20th. So what, on the 18th?
Yes.
So yes, thanks for joining us on this special report here on the Sagey Bard podcast. Definitely check our podcast out. Tuesdays, 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time is when our podcast drops. Definitely leave us a like for this video if you liked our breakdown. Leave us a comment for sure. Let us know what you think about the story. Is the news media doing a good job, or are they creating more questions and possibly more conflict over this story by not giving us accurate details or enough details? As always, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.
Thank you.